Welcome to Math Mojo. Today we're going to be talking about mathematical operations, more specifically place value. So let's start off with the definition. Place value tells you what each digit in a number means. So using a place value chart, we have three subcategories. So we have our millions section, our thousands section, and our ones section. And underneath each section, we have three subcategories, which is the same for each one. We have our ones, our tens, and our hundreds, which as you can see is the same underneath the thousands and the ones section as well. So now let's do an example. We have our number right over here, which is, in words, 586,324,852. So starting off, when using a place value chart, you need to start from the right side, which is right over here. So the first number that we would have to transfer over is our 2, which would fall underneath our ones section underneath the ones. And then we would have our 5, which would go underneath the tens section right over here. Next is our 8, which would go underneath the hundreds section. And over here, this number would be read as 852. Moving on to the next section, we start with the 4, which would go underneath our ones section, underneath the thousands section. And then we would move on to the 2, which would go over here. Moving on to our 3, which would go over here. And so on, and we would do this until we're done filling in our chart. So this is how you would use, oh, I put in the wrong number over there. So this is how you would use the place value chart. So here's a practice question that we can do. We have the number 97,541. So in this number, the underlying digit is in which place? So like I said before, when using a place value chart, you need to start from the right side, right over here. So we're going to start with our 1 section. Our 1 is going to go right over here. The next number is a 4, which goes underneath our 10 section. Then a 5, and then it's a 7. And now we've reached the underlying number, which is our 9, right over here. So our 9 would go right underneath our thousands 10 section. So that's where our underlying digit is. Okay, so moving on, there's also something else called a decimal place value chart. So this is different than the other one. We have a lot less categories and it's a lot smaller than our regular place value chart. So we're going to use the example 13.608. So this is called a decimal. When you use it in word form, you can say 13.608 or you can say 13 decimal 608. So for a decimal place value chart, you need to start on the right side. So we're going to put in our tens in here. So we start off with the 1, and then we would move on to our 1 section where we would put our 3. So now we've got 13 down, and then we reach our decimal. And then after the decimal, we would put in the 6 underneath the tens column, and then we would put in our 0 underneath the hundreds column, and the 8 underneath the thousands column. And now let's do an example. So over here we have 0.583. So we're going to do the same thing as our other example. We're going to use the underlying digit. We're going to look at the underlying digit and find which place it's in. So starting from the right side, we have a 0. So where does that put us? We would put our 0 underneath our ones column right over here. And then moving on, we have our decimal right here. And then we would put the 5 in our tens column, the 8 in our hundreds column, and the 3 in our thousands column. So to answer this question, the underlying digit is in the thousands column right over here. Okay, so now when it comes to number forms, we have 3 different number forms. Starting off with the easiest one, we have standard form. Standard form is just all the digits in place in the same order that the number is said. And then we have expanded form, where we take the first digit and we put the number of zeros that there are after the number. So for example, we have the number 5 million. So there's 6 zeros that would come after that one. And then after that, we have the number 6. So right over here. So we would put 6, and then we would put 5 zeros right after. so 600,000. And then we would put, next number is 3, so then we would put 4 zeros, which is 30,000. And moving on until we do all the numbers in our standard form. And then when we get to our last number, which would be in our ones column, it's simply just 1. And what you do when it's expanded form, you just add up all of these numbers and it gives you this final number right over here. And our last form would be our word form. So you would just write out exactly what the word is while looking at it in standard form. So this number is 5,637,921. Now, for our practice question, we have this number right over here written in standard form. So to put it in expanded form, we would do this. We would take our number, so we have this right over here. And to start off, we're going to look at our 3, and it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 digits right afterwards. So that means we need to put down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros right after it, which gives us 30,000. Plus, our next number is a 0. When you have a 0, then you can't really put down that many zeros right after it, because then it just means 0. So we move on to our next digit, which is a 2. So then we would write 2,000. Moving on to our next digit, we have 900. And then again, we hit another 0. So we just simply ignore the 0 and move on to our next digit, which is a 4 in our ones column. So it would simply just be 4. So this over here would equal our number right over here. So this is our expanded form done. And now for our word form, we would simply just write it out as this word, I don't know how to write a word form. It would be 300, it would be 300 2,904. So these are the answers for this question. Make sure to try a bunch of different numbers for practice and just keep practicing our different forms. Moving on, this is our final question for practice. You may get questions like this where they are word problems and you need to read the question to figure out what it's asking you. So this question says, you need to fill out a check to pay your electric bill. On the check, you are required to write the amount in word form. This is the amount you need to put on the check. So over here, they give us the number in standard form. So we have this number right over here, and we need to write it down in word form. So this number simply is 2,907. And there you go. Okay everyone, thank you for watching Math Mojo. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe, and click here for the next video. We'll see you next time.